lot of times I get the question, how much does a franchise cost? And it varies. I mean, you could find franchises that start at $50,000 all the way up to 500,000 plus. So what's the difference in between? Well, a lot depends on you and how you want to operate your business. What do you want to do in business ownership? What role do you want to play? So a retail establishment, what we call a brick and mortar, is going to cost, typically that's going to be the highest expense because you're looking for a place, you're going to be renting a location, and you're going to be building it out. In other words, making it look like all the other franchises. So that is something that's where those $500,000 franchises, $300,000 to $500,000 franchises typically come in at. The next one would be if you had a mobile-based franchise, depending on how many vehicles you start with. If you start with one or two, and those vehicles are typically going to be wrapped and they're going to need a little bit of equipment or maybe a little bit of inventory and those kinds of things. So it's hard to say, but typically, those franchises are going to be somewhere between about, I don't know, maybe $100,000 to $200,000. And the last one is if you're working from home, if your franchise is from home. Mine is from home. I don't really need any equipment other than a computer, my desk, a place to work, and those kinds of things. But there's always going to be a cost associated with going into business. And part of that is the franchise fee, the secret sauce. Again, you can go from $50,000 all the way up to $500,000 plus. And each one of those has its own advantages and disadvantages. The most important thing is to, one, know your budget well before you decide on buying a franchise. The second thing is the role of the owner. What is it that you want to do? Now, if you're buying a franchise based on cost, I'll just say something like my franchise, then, you're really looking at something that it is typically as time goes on, you can bring more people in, but that's where the cost comes down because you're not paying for employees and things like that. So it's very difficult to give you a solid end price until we really talk about you. What do you want to do? How do you want to go to business? How much money would marketing cost and all of those things? So really what I would recommend is that you go to my website, click on the entrepreneur profile, and that'll be a great starting place. And then you can also download my 4 steps to researching a franchise.